Hey, Derby Naz, sitting here at my dining room table, finishing up the sermon for tomorrow. I suppose it's high time I finish it up. I've been working on it several weeks actually, and there was a profound concept that I had never really seen before. We're going to be dealing with the concept of Sabbath. And honestly, the way I've always been taught Sabbath as a principle, in fact, the way I've always preached Sabbath as a principle is Sabbath is not working. Very simple, we think. And the fallout from that has sometimes been a profound legalism at times. What we do and don't do on Sabbath. And it's always different based on the person and the convictions. And so we run into problems when the preacher says, hey, you can go out to eat on Sabbath. That's okay, even though you're making someone else work. You just can't mow your yard on Sabbath. It ends up being a really sticky wicket. And I wanted to move away from the do's and the do-nots of Sabbath because that, believe it or not, is not the point of Sabbath at all. I didn't see this truly or begin to see this until I was reading in Genesis. We've been in Genesis these past few weeks. And at the beginning of chapter 2, here's what it says. It says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them, all the stars. And then it says, and on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all of his work that he had done. But in that an odd way of saying it, he says in verse 1, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, the work itself was finished, and all of the hosts of them. But it wasn't until the seventh day did God finish his work. Was it complete? There's this idea that the work can be done, but it is not yet complete until it's enjoyed. That's what Sabbath is. Sabbath is delight. Sabbath is stepping back and not just appreciating what God has done, but participating in it. This is why, I think part of the reason why Adam and Eve were made at the very end of creation itself, the last thing. If we're looking at it in terms of days, humanity was made in the evening of the sixth day. And then the first thing God says is, now rest. But it's not rest in cease from work because they hadn't worked. That was God's rest. And God wasn't saying, I rested, so you need to rest, because God didn't need rest. And Adam and Eve at that point did not need rest. So what is Sabbath if it's not working? In this sense, Sabbath is pure delight. God kept saying, it is good, it is good, it is good 7 times. And then after he created humanity, he said, it is very good, very good. And in the very good blessing, he said, now enjoy it. Delight yourself in what I have done, what I've created. This is completely different than just not working. We tend to do this in our lives. We live for the weekend when we don't have to work. That makes work the curse. And we know biblically work is not a curse. Work is a blessing. It's a complete reversal here, that we move through our work week and the craziness of it, but that there is something that is made profound and complete when we get to celebrate the blessings that God has given. It's this moment when we pause, and we do stop working in a sense, but we're pausing in the middle of it to say, not just thank you, God, for what you've given, but let me share, let me delight in this as well. It's the difference between taking Sabbath and receiving Sabbath as a gift. And so we're exploring this tomorrow. The reason I'm spending so much time talking about it right now is because I've decided the sermon I have written to preach tomorrow, I'm not going to preach. We're going to still deal with Sabbath, but we're going to do something completely different. I'm going to take a few moments to introduce it tomorrow, about 7 to 10 minutes. And so that will be a Sabbath for you. You don't have to listen to me talk for quite as long. And so I'm going to take just a few minutes to introduce how we're going to conclude the service, but then we will finish with a 25-minute block of, of Sabbathing together. And I know that's not a verb. Here's a clue as to what we'll be doing. The title of the message is Sabbath as Symphony, or you could reverse it. It works either way, Symphony as Sabbath. And we're going to take the last 25 minutes to participate, to delight in Sabbath. And I'm really excited about this. I've bounced this idea off of Nate. I've bounced this idea off of my wife, asking them what they think about this. I've asked my mother. All of them have given me warnings. And I've heard the warnings, and I think I'm going to ignore them. And we're going to do this anyway. It may bomb. I'm okay with that. If we don't try something, we'll never know. And so I've never done anything like this before, and so come prepared tomorrow for something different. At the worst, you walk out of there saying, yeah, that was a waste of time. But I don't think it will be. At the best, you will have experienced Sabbath, not just as what you don't do, but as a principle of God's profound delight in you and in giving you this day of rest, in a sense. And so I'm looking forward to it. I hope to see you tomorrow. I hope to see you tonight. We're getting ready for dinner. We're going to be heading over to the church here in a couple, 2-3 hours for a pancake feed. We're raising money for Family Promise, so hopefully I'll get to see you there. I'm going to be in and out quickly because the service has changed dramatically just on a dime and in a moment. I've got a lot of work to do before tomorrow morning, so I can't stay long, but I do hope to see you there, and hope to see you tomorrow. Until then, have a blessed evening, and we look forward to Sabbathing together with you tomorrow. God bless.